Hello and welcome everybody back to the Insider Galaxy podcast. I'm your host, Eric Hernandez, as always. It's been a while again since we made a last episode, and we got a few games to cover. Of course, the Galaxy right now are on an 8-game unbeaten streak, but we got a few games to talk about. We got the San Jose game, we got the LAFC game, and we also got the Philadelphia Union game that we're all going to sort of just talk about here, kind of go through it, and it should be a good episode, good conversation. Also, the transfer window is open. We're going to talk about rumors that have happened and talk about that, what we want to see from the transfer window. And of course, we have another preview against Vancouver, a game that we have before we have Leagues Cup, before the All-Star game. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot to talk about, and it's really good to be back here, and good to have everyone here. But of course, with me as always is LA Galaxy Central, but as you can see, we also have a third person here. We have Jake here, who runs the MLS Merchant account on IG. He's here with us tonight for this episode. And we got 3 people in here. This is interesting. We haven't had a guest in a while. And first for Jake, thanks for being on the show, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm just happy to talk more about MLS, especially on a podcast. Yeah,
man. I mean, it's good to like I said, it's good to have a guest here. It's good to have new faces and new opinions and talk and just different conversations, so it's good to have you here. And of course, like I said, LA Galaxy Central's here, but Alex, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I'm very happy to be here, and it's been just too long. I mean, we haven't done an episode in a while due to some busy schedules, some technical difficulties, but I'm glad we're here right now.
Yeah, it really has been a while, which I really do apologize that it's taken this long to make another episode, but hopefully we don't have to deal with technical difficulties and scheduling and stuff like that. So we should be back on a normal basis to record and bring out episodes. But of course, thank you too for being here. And like I said to the listeners, thank you all for being here as well. But let's get right into it. Like I said in the beginning, Galaxy right now are on an 8-game unbeaten streak.
I think it's 7, actually. I don't think it's 8.
I believe it's 8 because we...
I think
7. My bad. 7, yeah. We're on a 7-game unbeaten streak. I forget. I counted Vancouver, but we're on a 7-game unbeaten streak. Hopefully it becomes 8, but we're on a 7-game unbeaten streak. And like I said, we've had 3 games that we need to cover, starting with San Jose, which resulted in a tie. And it was a pretty big game. It's Cali Classico. It was at Stanford Stadium. Just real quick, I guess we'll start off with Jake here. I know it's kind of been a few weeks since that game happened, but since Jake is here and is our guest, we'll start off with you, man. How'd you feel about that game when the Galaxy faced San Jose?
So I was actually at that game. That's the first game I've gone to this year, and I'm a huge San Jose fan, as you both probably know. And it was just a great atmosphere. I mean, our games are not usually that packed, like PayPal Park, it's a nice stadium, but it doesn't usually have too many fans, and it was cool to have that whole atmosphere. But the game itself, I mean, I was kind of a little frustrated in the beginning because it didn't seem San Jose was getting a lot going, but the Galaxy were playing really well. Like, I noticed that the team that I saw in the beginning of the season, it's a lot different. I feel like the Galaxy have transformed a lot. I noticed Ricky Puig seemed really dominant on the ball. Douglas Costa's obviously been playing well, and it was just really good. It felt like an evenly matched game, and I feel like that's what a Cali Classico should be. That's how I felt about it.
Right, I agree with that as well. It felt a lot more like a Cali Classico when I watched that game. It just felt like both teams knew what this rivalry meant. I mean, it really is a historic rivalry. It's one of the first rivalries that has happened. And I honestly didn't even know you were a San Jose fan. But it's kind of weird having a San Jose fan on the Galaxy pod. But still, though, it's still cool. It was a good game. It was very intense for sure. Of course, Alex, how did you feel about that game? What were your thoughts about that one?
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed because we had 2 leads throughout that game and we couldn't close it out. I mean, we gave up a cheap goal right before halftime, which you don't want to see. And then into the last 10 minutes again, we had a 2-1 lead and we blew it. So it kind of felt like 2 points lost to me. And going 2-0 in a Cali Classico would have been great. Going to win at Stanford again for the second time in a row just would have been great for the rivalry, great for us. But unfortunately, just like many times this year, we couldn't get that killer goal. We couldn't close out the game. But it's on the road, it's against the rival, so I guess you'll take the point sometimes, but I think it is a little disappointing we couldn't manage to close the game out.
Yeah, for sure. But credit to San Jose though too. Like, as much as we kind of had a couple mistakes that kind of cost us, I think, like I said, San Jose played. They knew what this game was about, and for sure it was definitely an intense rivalry. And Yeah, I mean, honestly, San Jose played their butt off as well. You can't really deny how they played as well. I think the only bad thing was just some of the ref decisions. I think we've kind of expressed about that and how pro referees just stink in this league, and VAR in itself, like it just sucks. But at the same time, you can't always rely on the refs, especially when they're bad. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I felt like it was, like I said, intense game, evenly matched, and it was a good one to see.
Yeah, definitely. Like we've said before, you can't really rely on pro to give you the correct results in this league. I mean, the penalty was debatable. I thought it was a penalty, and I thought the red card also could have easily been a red card, but I guess they didn't see it. They overturned it, and sometimes in MLS that happens. You can't rely on the refs to always make correct calls. But I'm just more disappointed that we ended up blowing the lead rather than like we didn't get the calls to go our way, because that happens all the time.
Yeah. Jake, through your perspective actually on those calls, I know you were a San Jose fan, so you're probably happy about them not having those calls. But I guess through a neutral perspective, like, how'd you feel about those calls and the refereeing that day?
Well, so in the moment, obviously, it was like so intense. I was sitting behind the goal, and I remember I saw Jonathan Mensah make that tackle, and I remember running away because I was like, yes, he just stopped the goal. And then I turned back, and I'm like, is he pointing at the spot? So my immediate reaction was I thought he got the ball. And I guess the weird thing is in the stadium, they don't show the replay when they're reviewing it. I don't know why, but
Same at
it
Dignity.
would just said it was under review.
Yeah, I think
Same with
everywhere.
Dignity, yeah. That's a bit strange to me because we couldn't really see what was going on. But then I was relieved when he didn't give it because I thought it wasn't a penalty. And then upon looking at it later, I can see why people would say it was a penalty, but I still feel that it wasn't because he got the ball. But I can see why people are like, it was a really hard challenge. So I can see both sides. I didn't feel it was a penalty. But with the Ewell red card, I think that should have been a red card, honestly. I mean, his studs went into the back of, I forget whose leg.
It was
Costa.
Douglas Costa. Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the penalty call. I agreed with the overturning of that, but I think Ewell should have been sent off for that challenge. I think is studs into the back of the leg. You give a red card for that. I can't deny that.
Yeah, I
enough.
mean, no, for sure. I mean, yeah, you can't really deny. I guess the penalty, more looking back at it, it was maybe like you could debate about it, but yeah, definitely for sure that tackle should have been a red. I don't like again. I always said, like, how do you have VAR? How do you have a screen that tells you literally what you see and you don't overturn the call? Like, I don't know. It really is a like a weird issue that happens in this league, and I've always hated about it. But no, yeah, definitely for sure. I can see your reasoning on both of those calls. Anyways, I think we should talk a little bit about players, unless anybody has some extra points about the game that they want to talk about.
No, I think that's pretty much it.
All right, then. So let's get into the players a little bit about that game. We'll try to go by positions here. We'll start off with the defense. I guess, I don't know, I guess you guys can choose one player from each position or something like that just to kind of mix it up a little bit. But we'll start off with Alex. Alex, who did you feel like in the defense stood out to you in a good or maybe bad way in that defense?
I feel like Raheem Edwards definitely stood out that game. He's a player who's been on the bench a lot. Aude has been starting a lot of games, and Raheem Edwards, he stayed ready. You gotta give him credit. He played really well that game. He was doing a lot of really good things, and it's just good to see that he has a low professionalism where he can stay ready and still put in good performances, even if he's not getting the most playing time recently.
Yeah. Jake, do you have anybody that kind of stood out to you in that game?
For either side.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll take either side since you're a San Jose fan.
yeah. Well, let me think. Yeah, I guess I would pick the Galaxy for this position because Raheem Edwards, like I was thinking the same thing. Like to be able to get that goal, just to see him like he was like leaping for that header, and it was such a good little flick on at the near post. It was a smart goal, and I mean, out of it, it wasn't the best game defensively. I felt like there were some defensive mistakes on both sides, but definitely, I mean, if a defender gets a goal, that's always going to stand out. So yeah, Raheem Edwards for sure.
Yeah, definitely. He's been playing well, and he's really has stepped up. And considering we've kind of talked about it before, we thought at this rate, Raheem Edwards was done, wasn't going to be the starter anymore. Now he's got the start back, and he's been playing very well. So yeah, Raheem definitely is that standout. One guy I did want to point out, which someone that I think Alex really has seen progress this season was Caligari. I think Caligari was one of those guys who really has stepped up in his position as well. He's been more consistent, hasn't been, making as many mistakes, and is, kind of getting out there and more. Now getting more defensive, getting more in the offense, and he's really producing a lot more. So Caligari, in my opinion, was one of those defensive standouts, as much as Raheem has been playing good.
Yeah, Caligari has been great. Not only that game, but the last couple of games. But if we want to talk about a player that has struggled in the San Jose game, we can talk about Chris Mavinga. That was a pretty rough performance from him. You saw like right before halftime, he makes just a lazy pass to Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd didn't check his shoulder. You give a cheap goal away right before halftime, and then on the second goal, I don't think that was really Chris Mavinga's fault, but still the ball deflects off him into the goal to make it 2-2. And I just thought Mavinga kind of had a rough night overall. If we want to go to like one negative defender.
Yeah, definitely for sure. He was kind of the one who wasn't didn't stand out and what well not stand out in a good way, I guess you could say, but yeah, definitely for sure. Let's talk about the midfield. Of course, I think the obvious choice is Ricky Puig has been the best guy in the midfield, but of course we got Delgado and Brugman in there. Alex, we'll start off with you. How'd you feel about the midfield? Who was a guy who stood out to you?
Yeah, I like the midfield. I thought Pooch did a really good job. He was getting on the ball a lot, finding pockets of space like he usually does. He had a really good performance like he usually does. Brugman was really good too. He was good defensively, good outlaying the ball. I think Delgado was really poor that game. He was giving the ball away a lot, not completing passes. His effort was still good. He was still putting in some good tackles, but I do think Delgado does need to step up a little bit more. Well, he has stepped up a little bit more these last couple of games, which we'll get into, but I think for the San Jose game, we need a little more from him.
Yeah, definitely for sure. I would agree that Mark Delgado could have done better, but yeah, overall midfield still played solid. I can't really, choose one other than Ricky Puig is the obvious choice. But yeah, like midfield did play good that game. Jake, who stood out to you in that one, in that position?
I would say there were some standouts from both sides. Douglas Costa for the Galaxy, I mean, 2 assists, obviously, and I've just noticed a complete difference in the way he plays as opposed to the beginning of the season. He seems like he's totally in it now for the Galaxy. And then obviously for San Jose, we got to talk about Christian Espinoza.
For
He
sure.
felt like, the most dominant player for our team that game, and he felt like he was always dangerous on the ball. And then Jack Scan getting his first goal of the year. Got to mention that.
Definitely for sure. Those are some good shots there. Yeah, I guess we can talk a little bit about the offense now going into it. Of course, Jake mentioned Douglas Costa. I definitely think for sure he was one of those guys. Definitely he's just been stepping up and contributed to both of those goals for the Galaxy. So yeah, for my pick, at least for the offense, Douglas Costa was really good. But Alex, who'd you feel like in that offense was good for you?
Yeah, you got to mention Douglas Costa with the 2 assists. Even more than just his assist, he was just very dangerous all night, getting on the ball, completing passes, getting dangerous balls into the box, which was something we've seen a lot from him, especially on corner kicks. His corner kicks have been just very good lately. Preston Judd stepping up as a starter is good. I mean, we've had Joveljic as a starter. He struggled a lot, not really scoring goals, playing well. So the fact that Judd delivered in a rivalry game is always really good. And Tyler Boyd had a pretty poor game offensively. He just didn't look completely into it, which is fine. Sometimes players have rough games, but I would say Douglas Costa was the main positive on offense, and Tyler Boyd probably had the worst game out of all of them.
Yeah, I definitely for sure I agree with Tyler Boyd. Struggled in that game for sure, but has stepped up recently. So,
Oh
but
yeah,
we'll get
definitely.
but we'll get into that in the next recaps, I guess. But Jake, who offensively stood out to you? I know you already mentioned Douglas Costa, but
Yeah.
but maybe for San Jose, who stood out to you in that offense for you?
Yeah, like I said, Espinoza and Scan. I also felt like a lot of our subs that came in late in the game, they didn't get a goal. None of them got a goal, but it felt like they provided a spark. There was a lot of that game that was just like a dry spell, and then we brought in a few subs, and we started getting chances. And then obviously Espinoza gets that deflected goal. And on the Galaxy, definitely Preston Judd. His finish on that goal was great. Top shelf finish, and a good ball from Douglas Costa as well.
Yeah, definitely for sure. But yeah, I mean, we kind of went through all those players. But yeah, I mean, I think for both sides, again, I think both played well. And you mentioned the subs for San Jose. I think also for the Galaxy, the subs did not play that bad. I think maybe they didn't provide a spark, but they definitely held on their own. So I will give the subs a little bit of the shout out, and kind of like Fanny's management in that game wasn't that bad either. But yeah, for sure, definitely, I agree on those points. But yeah, but like I said, both that game was just again intense, and both were on par with each other and knew what that game was about, and really just they delivered in that game. It was a Cali Classico. I mean, there was not only on the pitch but off the pitch there was some drama as well between the fans. So it really did feel like a Cali Classico. It really I don't think I've seen that in a while. At least from a Galaxy perspective, I feel like because of the El Tráfico, the Cali Clasico's kind of been pushed behind. But this game kind of reminded everybody what this rivalry meant for the Galaxy as well. I don't know through a San Jose perspective, but how have you guys felt about the Cali Classico in recent years? Like, do you guys like kind of consider this still this big rivalry, or do you think it's kind of been stale for the past matches because of like maybe El Trafico or other games as well?
Yeah, I definitely still consider it the rival. In my mind, it's still that rivalry, but I definitely see your point where I think since 2020, maybe, 2021, we had a couple of Cali Classicos, and then 2022 we did. But those games have just not felt the same. It hasn't felt like that same spark and intensity. And then the first one this year where the Galaxy won 2-1, it was definitely a lot of it was just a quiet game, it felt like. So yeah, it was good to see some of that, just that passion come back into the rivalry.
Yeah, definitely for sure. Alex, how'd you feel about that? Because we've kind of mentioned it as well about about the Cali Classico. How'd you feel about it just overall, like the rivalry perspective?
No, I mean, I always take Cali Classico very seriously. I consider it still a really big rivalry for us, and I really enjoy the rivalry. I mean, that win at home was really fun for me. Like when we won 2-1, one of our just few wins this year, but it was still really good to get that one. Obviously, the atmosphere was not the best. You still had a lot of supporters groups boycotting, but yeah, this game at Stanford was really fun. Too bad I couldn't make the trip. I was about to leave for Italy, so I didn't think I really had time to, but hopefully I can make the trip to PayPal in late August.
Yeah, definitely for sure. Hopefully, I kind of want to go to
I was
PayPal
coming.
too. So
Sorry,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry,
No,
I was
my bad.
coming back from Italy. I just came back from Italy. I wasn't going there, but like still, like I just came back from Italy a few days ago. I wanted to make the trip, but like there just wasn't enough time for me. Like I still needed to like settle some stuff down.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, definitely. I've been kind of thinking about going to Cali Classico up there. Maybe who knows? Maybe we'll meet up Jake if he goes to the next one. But
Hey.
you know, yeah, I
Maybe, yeah.
definitely. Yeah, I definitely want to go to that one. We'll see though, because it's on a Wednesday, so it might be a little difficult. But we'll see. We'll think about something. But anyways, any other points you guys want to take off from from this game against San Jose, or should we move on into covering El Trafico?
Well, I think it's 2 points lost for us. I still think that was a winnable game for us. We played pretty good. We did a lot of good things, but just a couple of mistakes made throughout the game can drop you points like we saw with Kansas City and then San Jose.
Yeah, definitely for sure. Jake, any last thoughts about that game?
Just that it was a really end-to-end game, and I was happy to see that both teams were in it throughout. And obviously, as a San Jose fan, it's a draw that feels like a win because we were very close to losing. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely must have felt good about that Christian Espinoza goal. Definitely, it did feel
Yeah.
like a win for you guys. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that was San Jose. I guess we can now talk into the historic game that happened at the Rose Bowl, El Trafico. This was the biggest game of the year. I mean, 82,000 plus fans. Like it was crazy. Like it was crazy if you were there. It was crazy if you were watching it on TV. 4th of July on a holiday. Luckily, the Galaxy get the win against LAFC here, and it was a big win. But yeah, I mean, let's talk about it first. Alex, what were your thoughts about the game? How'd you feel about that win against LAFC?
That was an amazing win. I was at the game and it was just so much fun. The stadium was packed. There was a really good game. It was very intense. Atmospheres were great on both sides. It was just very fun to be a part of. It was a great day for the league, great day for the Galaxy, and I'm glad we got to get 3 points from that game. And hopefully we can continue onwards with that.
Yeah, definitely for sure. I mean, it was good to get those 3 points, definitely. But Jake, through I guess an outsider perspective or an MLS perspective, how'd you feel about that game? How did you feel watching that game? What were your thoughts about it?
Oh, that was an amazing game to watch. I remember I had just gotten home from my trip to the Bay Area, and like I was just watching. I watched pretty much the whole game on TV, and it was so fun to watch. The atmosphere was clearly just different than anything we've ever seen in the league, and that Tyler Boyd goal was
Oh my
fantastic.
God,
And
yeah.
then, yeah, the curl on that thing was crazy. And I just remember the thing that stood out to me the most was when Ricky Pooch scored. The way the bench like ran onto the field, the like lights were flashing, and Pooch was pointing at his jersey. I was like, that is one of the craziest goals I've ever seen. Like, just the atmosphere of it was
For
awesome.
sure, man. I took a friend with me too, and it was so much fun. Like we went crazy for both goals, especially the
Yeah.
first Tyler Boyd goal. It was just so good to watch.
Oh yeah, the funny thing was because unfortunately I didn't go to the game. Like as before Tyler Boyd curled it in, I was like, man, like Tyler Boyd is like doing too much. Like he might be going a step over, and I was about to say that, and then next thing you know, he just curls that thing, and then my brother next to me was like, yeah, don't talk shit to Tyler Boyd if you're just. I'm like, I'm not gonna even speak about Tyler Boyd anymore. Like he like whatever he does, he's doing good. Like I mean. Fucking
Yeah.
no, but Tyler Boyd definitely was his goal was great. I mean, it got goal of the week that match day, and then also Ricky Puig. I mean, just shutting everybody up, shutting Chiellini up. Shut just absolutely proving everybody wrong with that whole like, oh, like can you do it in front of a packed out Rose Bowl? Well, guess what? He did, and he showed everybody that he's the guy. So yeah, definitely for sure, Ricky did have that amazing performance. Just absolutely was just the MVP of that game for sure. But anyways, I guess we can also talk about a little bit about the players as well in this game. Again, starting through defense to the offense. Alex, how did you feel about defense? Who stood out to you in that game?
I think defense was very solid outside of left back. I think the left backs, both of them, when they came on, kind of had a rough game. But other than that, I think the defense was very solid. Mavinga had a really good game, which he did not in San Jose, so that was good to see. And Caligari, again, a guy we've talked about who's been stepping up lately, he had another really good game in front of 80,000 people. I mean, Caligari played in Brazil, so he's kind of used to these hostile environments, big crowds type of games. So I'm glad to see that transitions over to MLS.
Yeah. Jake, anybody who stood out to you in the defense? Also, you can talk about LAFC if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would have just picked the same players as him. I've seen a lot of improvement from Caligari, and Mavinga obviously had a better game. I didn't notice too much from the defensive end in this game though. It was more the offense that stood out to me.
Right, definitely for sure. I mean, this game is like the definition of offense, and although there wasn't, I guess 2-1 is still kind of lower when it comes to these games. Like, I mean, we've seen higher scores in El Tráficos, but yeah, definitely for sure, offense is the focal point of it. Yeah, but I guess midfield we can talk about a little bit. Of course, like we mentioned, Ricky Puig in that game, but anybody that stood out to you in that one, Alex?
I think all the midfielders did better. I think Delgado had a better game, even though I still think there's still room for improvement. But I think the whole midfield had a pretty good game. Obviously, Ricky Puig was dominant. He was kind of just destroying LAFC. Whatever LAFC tried to do to Ricky Puig, it just didn't work. And that happened in the first game, too, he played him. But unfortunately, we lost that one. But this one was able to result in a win, and Ricky Puig played really well. He made Acosta fall on the floor a few times, which was kind of funny. I mean, he just ran by Ilya Sanchez, who's on the older side. He just destroyed LAFC. There's no other way around it. Even outside of the goal, he just played really well.
Yeah, I mean, the guy was just finding spaces and just running through everybody. Like, it was crazy. Like, I don't. That was definitely like one of his probably the best performance so far this season when it came to Ricky Puig. Like, it really probably was. It really was. I mean, yeah, you can't really deny it. Jake, how'd you feel about the midfield on either side of that game?
Yeah, outside of Ricky Puig, the main player that stood out to me was Ilya. I feel like, I mean, even beside his goal, he had a pretty good game for LAFC. He's usually a point of their team that's like usually really positive, and he had a good flick on for that header. But yeah, that was the main bright spot for LAFC in that game.
Yeah, definitely for sure. I mean, Ilya Sanchez, I like as much as I kind of hated that he didn't come to the Galaxy because I guess that was an option for him. Yeah, almost did. Like, I mean, I respect him. He's one of those LAFC players I definitely respect because he's just that guy who's been in the league for a while and just performs every night. And
he's kind of like Gaston Brugman. He just shows up to work and he does a good job.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's probably the best way I can put it too. Like, he's just that guy. He's the guy you can trust. Anyways, offense, like we talked about Tyler Boyd's goal, which was phenomenal. But anybody in the offense that stood out to you, Alex?
Yeah, I feel like Preston Judd had a rough game. He had a better game in San Jose, but obviously that game was kind of rough for him. He didn't really get involved, but I still think it was a good decision to start him because the way Joveljic plays as a starter is like not very good. And Costa didn't have the best game, even though he did that outside the foot pass to Boyd for the second goal. I don't think Costa had one of his compared to like one of his best games. I still think he did all right though. Like, the effort was there. He's trying to do the right thing, but it wasn't always coming together like it has recently.
Yeah, definitely for sure. There was some I guess lower spots in that offense, but still though they did what they did, and we got the 3 points. So that's all you can really ask for, as much as you want to I guess criticize. But Jake, how'd you feel about the offense? Of course, for either side.
Well, I'll actually talk about the struggles for the LAFC offense lately. They just kind of don't look the same at all. I mean, Vale and Buanga, they'll get a goal occasionally, but it just seems like the attack is not clicking in the same way it was in the beginning of the season. It is definitely cause for concern for LAFC.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Buanga is this guy who I've always said is just I hate it that he's just so good. Like, he's one of those players that I hate, but because he's so good. And this game was just one of those games where he just did not perform, and was kind of shocking to see
Yeah.
in that big of a game, and then also Vela as well. I mean, Vela's kind of normal because he never shows up in big games, but but that's a different story. But yeah, I mean, definitely for sure the offense did not look as great compared for LAFC. Yeah, for sure. I would say. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, yeah, we got to give Caligari credit because this is the second time this year he's been matched up against Dennis Bouanga, and I think he's done a really good job both times. Caligari is a physical player, a good defender. I think Caligari's physicality actually really bothers Bouanga, unlike what a lot of other players do in this league. I think that physicality actually does bother him.
You know what? I feel like it's just sort of just how Caligari is. Like I feel like if like you've never seen Caligari before and you see him like in front of you, you're like, oh, like this guy may not do as good or maybe won't. Like I'll get through him easily, but in reality, it's Caligari is physical. He knows what he's doing. He'll find a way to just stop you. And I think I don't know if Dennis Bouanga maybe just doesn't fear Caligari as much or something like that, but like maybe that's like kind of a way that people look at Caligari and it kind of just surprises him a little bit.
I mean, yeah, Caligari is from Brazil, so they don't back down from tackles there.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, they'll definitely go into they'll definitely fight for the ball, and maybe some other Brazilians will take literal fighting, but of course Douglas Costa's done better with that. Which, by the way, I will say though, back to Douglas Costa, he's definitely been the guy who's a lot more calmer in the situations now. Like he won't go into like the fighting, he won't go into like start like talking to the ref or whatever. In fact, he starts calming everybody down, which is something that's something that I've seen and kind of like I like about Costa. Like he's really stepping up to be the leader and kind of like sort of like the role model ever since like like Chicharito's been out and stuff like that. So that's another thing. That's another thing about Costa.
He's kind of doing what we wanted Jovic to do. Like we saw Chicharito go down, we wanted Jovic to step up, be this like great starter, and like he hasn't done that obviously, which is disappointing. But Costa has been the guy, kind of surprisingly to us at first, that's like really stepped up and raised his level of play because he knew he had to when a player went down like Chicharito.
Yeah, definitely for sure. I would agree with that as well. So yeah, Costa definitely is doing what we've been wanting him to do, and I'm glad we're seeing that. But anyways, any other final points you guys want to talk about the game?
I mean, that game was just incredible to be at. I mean, I watched the game on TV too, and then, like, being at the game is not even close to comparison how fun it was. I was glad I got to take a friend with me and that I got to be a part of that, and I don't regret it at all. The atmosphere was just amazing, and I'm glad the win topped that off.
Yeah, for sure. Jake, any other final points?
No, just great win for the Galaxy, and they're on a roll right now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and in fact, we'll transition into the latest win against Philadelphia. So the ball keeps rolling for the Galaxy. They get 3 points at home against Philadelphia, 3-1 in their most recent matchup. You got goals by Boyd. You got an own goal, but everybody's saying Mavinga scored, so I guess we'll say Mavinga scored one. And then you got Ricky Puig again with another banger in that game. So yeah, Galaxy win, Philadelphia Union 3-1. Alex, we'll start off with you again. How'd you feel about that game? What were your thoughts about us beating Philadelphia?
Yeah, it's a really good win because Philadelphia's obviously a really good team. They won the Eastern Conference last year, and they have a lot of really good players, especially in the defense. They were a little bit shorthanded, to be fair. Like, you can tell their left back, Kai Wagner, was out, who's really good, and Andre Blake, their keeper. I mean, you could tell their keeper, like, they're from their starter to backup keeper. There's a really big gap between there. We saw that, but the Galaxy took advantage of that, and they managed to put the ball in the back of the net, and we shut down Philadelphia's attack pretty well. I mean, Philadelphia has an attack that we've seen many times through season, score 6, 7 goals sometimes. They don't do that every game, but they're more than capable of having these big offensive performances, and the Galaxy defense did really well shutting them down, and we got to prove that we can build off El Trafico and that we can hope this can be a turning point. And 2 wins in a row is great. When we are where we are right now, we still have a lot of work to do. The only way to get out of this hole that we dug ourselves in is by getting 3 points. So if we keep building the momentum, maybe we can get in a better spot soon.
All right. Yeah, I agree. Definitely agree with that as well. Jake, how'd you feel about that game going up against Philadelphia? Again, another point to mention was that we beat LAFC, an MLS Cup finalist, Philadelphia, another MLS Cup finalist, back-to-back wins against them. But anyways, how'd you feel? What were your thoughts about that game?
I was just really surprised to see. I think as of late, Philadelphia has not really been showing up a lot on the road. They obviously show up at home. We all know that. But it seems like, they've been more beatable this season than they were last season. And the Galaxy they played really good. It's just like every game, it seems like they play better and put in a better performance. And it's interesting because the West is so close, right? So just a couple more wins and the Galaxy could be in playoff position. So it was really cool to see. And Ricky Puig with that absolute screamer also.
That was great, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, definitely for sure. Again, we kind of talked about Ricky in every single game, but I mean, he's just that guy. But definitely for sure, Philadelphia hasn't been that great away. But I will say it's still impressive to beat Philadelphia. I mean, Philadelphia's still a great team. Like they're still, I think they're fifth. They were fifth going into that game. They still have like 10 wins on the season. Like they're still a good team. Like right, and for the Galaxy to be at home and to, basically dominate a good Philadelphia side. Besides them having a few pieces out, like it was still good to see the Galaxy beat a team like that. And we don't even have that many. Like a lot of our good pieces are out too due to like international duty, injuries, and stuff like that. And for them to really go and beat Philadelphia that way, like definitely stood out to me for sure. And I think again that another impressive win and at home in front of their fans. You can't ask for anything better as a Galaxy fan.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned this in my post. I said, like, in terms of turning the season around, well, if you can beat the Eastern Conference champions and the Western Conference champions, two teams that a lot of people consider the two best teams in the league, then, like, who can't you beat? If we're capable of beating those teams, I think we can pretty much take on everybody if we're at our best.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. But anyways, yeah, well, again, we'll start off, we'll go into the players now. Let's go down how we always been. Defense. Alex, how'd you feel? Who stood out to you in that game? How'd you feel about it?
I mean, Caligari, again, just another really good performance. I mean, we've talked about him being more consistent now. Now it's pretty much every game we're getting really good performances from him, so that's really good to see, especially with having no center backs right now. Well, not no center backs, but, like, we're obviously...
No, it's no center backs. I mean, literally, Mavinga's the only center back on the team.
Well, so it's not no center backs, but we have one center back in the starting lineup and none available on the bench, so it's good to see Caligari is stepping up, like, covering the defense, doing a really good job, and I think the whole defense pretty much played really well. I mean, outside of that one goal Philadelphia had, which isn't really in anyone's control, the guy took a shot, deflected, or it fell to Uri's feet and he put it in. Like, the defense did really good. Mavinga had a really good game. Edwards, like we mentioned before, stepped up as a starter again. And so it's good to see, like I said before, that he still has that level of professionalism to, like, when he wasn't playing a lot before, like now he's really stepping up a lot. And Mavinga, I think I mentioned him, he had a really good game. And yeah, pretty much for the whole defense, I was very impressed with how they did.
Yeah, definitely for sure. I agree with all those. And you know what? Someone that we don't really mention, as much in the defense, we didn't mention, is Kelvin Leerdam. Obviously, he's not the guy who's flashy right now, but he's holding it down. I will say that Kelvin Leerdam, for what he's being asked to do, is playing very well. So I will say that somebody from that defense I will shout out as Kelvin Leerdam for sure. Jake, how'd you feel about the defense on either side? What were your thoughts on that one?
I felt like the defense for Philadelphia definitely was struggling. I think like the first two goals for the Galaxy, it was just kind of it just was not very good defending, I would say. But on the positive side for the Galaxy, I'm saying that's Mavinga's goal. I mean,
It
he's
wasn't, though.
there,
I thought it was too. Like, listen, I was
It
right
looked
behind
like
that
it
goal.
deflected off him.
It looked like it too. I thought like he got a foot in there and it was his goal, but I mean, I don't know. Like again, I was like right in front of there, and
Yeah.
to me, I thought it was a goal. But yeah, sorry to cut you off there. But anyways, keep going.
No, it's all good.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, regardless, I mean, if they give him that goal or not, he was involved and he was the one who really forced that, made it happen, and it just felt like the whole back line of the Galaxy was solid in that game. I mean, outside of, like you said, Philly got that one goal. It was a bit of a scrappy goal. It's just one that you just kind of have to forget about. But the Galaxy back line looked really solid as a whole.
I mean, yeah, speaking of backlines, the Philadelphia keeper, Joe Bendik, had a very rough game. I mean, you could tell he's not Andre Blake.
yeah, definitely. I mean, that was and I think like you said, you mentioned it. Got to take that weakness. They don't have their starting keeper. You got to take advantage of that. And yeah, I mean, I feel bad for that Philadelphia keeper because that was a rough game for him.
He used to be pretty good too. Like a couple of years ago, Joe Bendik was on Orlando. He's one of their better players, but I don't know what happened now.
Yeah, it is interesting though, for sure. But anyways, now we can go into the midfield a little bit. Again, we always mention Ricky Puig. I will say for me, I think this was a better game from Delgado. I think might have been probably his best performances in the season for Delgado. So someone in the midfield I'll say is Bart Delgado. He had a good one. He definitely looked like how he did last year and was more involved. And yeah, he was just putting in the work in that game. So for me, in that midfield, Delgado gets my shout for that one. But Alex, how about you? Who stood out to you in that midfield?
I think everyone stood out. The entire midfield was very dominant. They just passed the ball around, got around Philadelphia, won every 50-50 ball pretty much. The midfield just dominated that game, and it looks like they just wanted more. I mentioned this in my post too. It looks like the Galaxy just wanted it more. They were going harder for the tackles. They were going harder for the second balls. They were making passes with purpose, and it just looked like, as a team effort, they looked more collectively together.
Yeah, definitely. That's always the strong thing about that Galaxy midfield. It's the chemistry between those three. I think that's always going to be the thing about them, and like sort of the reason why I guess like despite Delgado not having the best of seasons, you can't really take him out because of that chemistry, right? So it's like I think that those three just always work well together, and again, like I said, this was one of his better games of the season. But Jake, how did you feel about the midfield on either side? Who stood out to you in that game?
Yeah, needless to say, as always, it was Ricky Pooge, another great performance. He was creating a lot of attacks for the Galaxy, and that goal was one of the best goals I've seen this season. It was like kind of like a knuckleball, and I mean, I know we were talking about Joe Bendick struggling, but even Andre Blake, I think the commentator said this, even Andre Blake is not saving them.
Probably
No,
not.
It was,
Yeah,
yeah,
was
Ricky Pooge.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah, that was a good goal, and for sure, there was other chances where Ricky had that where he just like had an open lane to shoot and didn't do it, and in that one, like he just was like, all right, this time I'm gonna do it, and yeah, that was just a great goal from Ricky Pooch. You can't deny it, and yeah, you're right. Even if Andre Blake was there, ain't no way that boy saving that. There's just no way he's gonna stop that one. That was just a straight rocket. But anyways, now we can move on into the offense a little bit. Alex, who in the offense stood out to you for the Galaxy? Who didn't stood out to you in that
Yeah,
instance?
I think Preston Judd is a player who I thought was very poor that game. I mean, the second poor game in a row, he did not play well, didn't really get involved, had some weak shots, and I mean, the thing is, I really don't want to start Jovic again because like we all know how that goes. Like Jovic is like somehow even worse as a starter, so I guess we kind of just have to stay with Preston Judd unless we like trade for a striker in the window. But yeah, Preston Judd had a rough game, so hopefully he can get back to his San Jose game a little bit more, other than these last two games.
Yeah, I mean, definitely for sure, Preston Judd. But you know what? I'll kind of forgive Preston Judd just because this is his first start, and he's just learning, he's progressing, so he'll get better, hopefully. But yeah, Preston Judd for sure did not have one of the best games either in that one. Jake, in the offense, who stood out to you on either side? Obviously, for Philadelphia, there wasn't much offense, but at least for the Galaxy, who stood out to you?
Yeah, Philadelphia is really the only standout for them was Michael Lua getting that goal. He's a great goal scorer for them. But yeah, on the Galaxy, Tyler Boyd goals in back-to-back games now. That's really huge for his confidence, I can only imagine. But yeah, it's good to see, different. It seems like it's spread out in terms of the goal scoring. You're getting a lot of production for different players right now.
Yeah, definitely,
Yeah,
for
definitely.
sure. Yeah, like that, and that's a good thing too for the Galaxy is that you're now spreading I guess the goals now. It's like you're now spreading it. Everybody's getting a goal here and there. It's not just one single guy. As much as it would be nice to have one single guy scoring a goal, like it's still good to have everybody contribute to the goals. And Alex said Jovic, who hasn't been playing well either. Like that it sucks for him that he hasn't been playing well and not starting. But hopefully he can get back into his form as well. Coming off the bench, because even coming off the bench, he hasn't looked that great either. I don't know if you agree, Alex. Like him coming off the bench, how you feel about Jovic?
Yeah, I feel like his opportunity off the bench is kind of limited, but maybe if he gets some more minutes off the bench, he can start to do a little bit more. But that's kind of the thing with strikers, though, especially with our club. They kind of go in streaks a little bit. Like they have a lot of games where they score in a row and then they go kind of cold. So maybe we just have to wait for him to get back into his hot streak.
Yeah, definitely for sure. Which again, I hope Jovic finds his form again. I mean, he is the super sub, and even as a substitute, he hasn't been scoring. So hopefully, we get to see more of Jovic in that, in the future and start doing some stuff. But
I do have one thing to mention, though.
What's up?
Isn't it kind of interesting, though, how we got Tyler Boyd off waivers in a preseason game, and then, like, he scored in a preseason game, and they didn't even, like, they said it was from, like, a trialist player, even though everyone knew it was from him, but, like, it's just surprising how good Tyler Boyd has been, because, like, when we first signed him, you and I both kind of said, like, this is kind of mid, it's not really going to do anything, he's just going to be, like, just a substitute at best, he's not even fit, he's not even playing at all, wasn't playing in Turkey, and now, like, I think it's fair to say he's been one of the better wingers, not only on this team, but in the league. I think he's just been really good for us.
Yeah, I mean, Jake, like, if you were to get a player coming off like whether it's like through transfer or free agent. Like, how would you feel about a person coming in who's only had 49 minutes in like 9 months? Like, you would think like this guy's not going to do anything,
Yeah.
and Tyler Boyd was that guy. Like, he only played 40 a half in 9 months, and you know and he comes to be this baller. Like how'd you feel about like Tyler Boyd's, like, I guess, resurgence? Do you think like he's kind of been one of those best players in the league?
Not best, but like better wingers than the league, maybe.
Yeah.
Wingers, yeah. I mean, also if you're seeing like the goals he's scoring, a lot of them have been really good goals. He's had, I think, two insane strikes against LAFC. So he's definitely a good player, and I didn't know much about him going into the season, but now I know plenty.
Yeah, I mean those goals like kind of put you on the map, and it was three strikes. I mean, one was in the U.S. Open, but he's had three good strikes
Right,
against
yeah.
LAFC. But yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, Tyler Boys just have this resurgence, and again, like, we didn't expect it going into the season, and now we're here talking about him as one of the key players of the Galaxy. So that's pretty good from him. But anyways, any other final points you guys want to say about that game?
Yeah, I have one more. There's one thing I really like right now. I really like our corner kicks right now. Like we were saying before, like we were really struggling on corner kicks. We were not really scoring off much of them. Like not even just this year, but the last couple of years. Right now, we have a really good corner kick technique where Douglas Costa swings in an in swinger, and then we kind of jam the box. We kind of crowd the keeper so we can't get to it, and we just hope we get a flick on somewhere. I feel like that's working really well right now, and I really like that corner kick technique. And Costa's doing a really good job getting those balls in.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Jake, any other points you want to take from that game?
Yeah, I would say the same thing he just said. And then also, I mean, like I said earlier, the West is really close, and I think the Galaxy still are in 13th right now, but I think
Hmm.
just like one or two more wins could bring them up. I mean, maybe like to ninth or something. So it's like you can quickly go up, and if they keep this momentum, then it'll be a very interesting second half of the season.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
definitely. Yeah, definitely, for sure. The Galaxy are riding high. They're riding on good momentum, and we always said, like, I guess for me and Alex, during the season, we were saying, when is the turning point for this team? And it kind of seems like they found it. Of course, of course,
Literally.
they've only had three wins, and then most of them have been ties. But you're still seeing the momentum, and they're them riding it, and just again, they're like one or two wins away from a playoff spot, which is kind of crazy to think about. And of course, that deals with like the whole expanded playoffs and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, definitely, for sure, like, this team is looking good, and we just hope they just keep riding this momentum.
I still think they're a couple wins away from a playoff spot. One, because other teams have to play games too, and they're not all going to drop points. The teams who need to drop points, but like, yeah, I still think we're a couple points away. But I mean, if we keep this going, you only go up from here. We just have to keep getting those wins together.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. But yeah, anyways, those were our all three recaps. I mean, damn, it took us 40 minutes to get through all those three recaps. But hey, you know what? I'm enjoying it. I hope you all are enjoying it too. So yeah, anyways, we're done with the recaps. Those were all our games that we haven't covered so far. But anyways, let's get into some Galaxy news, some transfer news and rumors. Of course, we've had a few players getting thrown out there. We've had Pulido's name out there, who supposedly Galaxy had interest. We had Pizarro, whose Galaxy has had interest as well. We had a player who from like the third division Spanish league who we had interest in. Like, there's been a few names thrown out there for the Galaxy, and I guess we'll start off with Jake here. Like, I mean, I guess from an outside perspective, who do you think the Galaxy should go for, or maybe not specifically a player, but like also maybe just position wise, like what do you think the Galaxy need to really get them like going on this like good momentum?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say the midfield seems good right now. Obviously, you have Ricky Puig, you have Gaston Brugman, you have guys that can win you a game. I would say the defense is definitely a place to look because obviously pretty short-handed backline right now. Even though the guys have been stepping up, it would definitely be good to get some more people who are used to playing center back there. And then on the offensive side, it's definitely, I think you guys could go for a striker. That's definitely would be a good move. So like you said, interest in Polito, that is very smart. I don't know if Kansas City would want to give Polito up with the way he's playing, but definitely just even a player like him, that's a great place to look. And then obviously, I think you guys have heard about the Pizarro interest, which is, I'm not really sure what to think of that.
I think it's false, actually. Like there's a report today that
Oh,
he's going back to Greece. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen, but
I,
we'll
I don't
see.
think it's false, but I think it's just more of the fact that maybe the Greece move might be more of a better option for Pizarro, which, by the way, he gets to go back with Matias Almeida, who was with him in Chivas and stuff like that. And, like that might help him. And honestly, I just don't think Pizarro likes MLS. Like, I think he's had some instances where he just complains about the league. So maybe him staying in the league won't be a thing for him. But, who knows? We'll see about that. But Alex, of course, we've kind of talked about what we need in this team. But still, what are those needs do you think that we need for the Galaxy? And through the list of players we've heard, who do you think we should go after?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Jake. He made some great points. I do think we need a center back right now. I mean, we have a lot of guys injured. Some guys probably on season-ending injury list like Caceres. We don't know what's happening with Zavaleta. We probably need another center back in there and probably a striker right now too. I mean, we have Chicharito out. Is Judd really the guy going forward? I don't think so. And I think we should consider maybe trading Joveljic. He's just been very poor as a starter, and I don't think he really fits our system exactly. Like, if you can get a good deal for Joveljic on a team that will probably start him every game, that fits him a little bit, that will kind of build around him, I definitely think we should consider that, which might be a bit of an unpopular take, but if there's a move for Joveljic out there, I feel like it could be best for both sides. And they will give the Galaxy a year 22 DP spot, which, I mean, who knows what we can do with that next year. Maybe we can get a winger with that or something.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Like, I mean, there's some room to be made here, right? There's some moves you can do. And, of course, Vanny's going to be in charge. Will Kuntz is going to be in charge of that as well. I definitely agree with the striker. I think we should still probably go for one, considering the fact that, Joveljic hasn't been that great. Who knows if Judd is really the guy? And maybe if it's not Pulido-esque, still bring someone in there who's been a striker.
We heard Joseph Martinez before. That's interesting.
Yeah, which is interesting too, because I don't know if that'll happen, because I don't think Miami's going to give him up. He's really the only bright spot in Miami so far. Like, I just don't think there's really much you can. I don't think you would want to trade him. I don't know if you agree with that, Jake. That I mean, Miami's been poor, and with everything that they need to do to bring in Messi and stuff like that, I don't think giving up Joseph Martinez is going to be a thing, right?
Yeah, I think they're going to want to keep Martinez because obviously they'll have Messi playing on one of the wings. They'll have Busquets and Alba. None of those guys are strikers, so I think obviously, you have those three huge players they're bringing in, but having a fourth guy that's going to, get you goals, Miami, we know that they kind of have to win out to make the playoffs at this point once they get those guys. So it's like, if they want to do that, they're going to want to keep Martinez and, anyone that can score goals for them, basically.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. So I don't think the Martinez it would be pretty dope to get Martinez in LA. I
like him a lot.
I don't think anybody would disagree with that move, but I feel like that's a long shot. But still, though, getting a striker who's played, maybe somebody obviously we could only get people in the league, but get someone who's in the league who knows how to, at least get some progress going, get some goals in there. So it doesn't even have to be a top scorer. It just has to be somebody who really gets it going, though.
Yeah, it's been rough for Joseph Martinez recently. Like, he was in Atlanta. He had that terrible coach that obviously did a terrible job. Then the next year, it was a contract year. He didn't get that contract extension. He got pushed out of the club. And then this year with Miami, it's been a complete disaster of a year, as great as it looks right now for them getting all those new players. Miami's overall system and structure has been a complete disaster. There's no real plan. It looks like there's a lot of problems going on. So I would kind of like the idea of Martinez here. I think this is a good place for him. I think Vanny does a really good job of making players feel welcomed here, gets the best out of them. So I don't know if it'll happen. You're right. Miami probably do need a striker or a fourth guy, but if we could get Martinez here, I'd really like that move.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Alex, I actually did ask you a question, though. We talked about wingers a lot this season and how we said we need one. Considering Boyd has been playing well, considering Costa's been stepping up, do you think the Galaxy still need another winger?
Oh, that's a good question. It depends who you can trade for. I don't think we need a starting caliber winger. I mean, we have a lot of cap space this offseason, and we can go get someone else internationally, maybe. But I don't know, though. I don't know what we're going to do. It kind of just depends where it's a plan for this offseason. Are we going to extend Costa? Are we going to try to bring someone in right now? I mean, we just kind of have to wait and see how it unfolds.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Jake, I don't know. Do you feel like the Galaxy on the wings could need some help on that side?
Right now.
Yeah.
I do think it would be great to get another, star winger, or even someone that can come off the bench. But I think that's not one of the top positions where you need a player. I think the first concerns are definitely striker and center back.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Like Alex said, we got some center backs injured, and Jalen Neal's off in the Gold Cup, who is in the USA's in the semifinals, so good for them. He's doing good there. So it's I definitely think for sure center back is one of those needs as well. But considering the players that we've been linked to, I just don't see any of them really happening. Personally, I mean, Pizarro looks like he just doesn't want to be here, and then Pulido, who knows he can stay in Kansas City or he can go back to Chivas. I just don't see that happening either. Yeah, but I think you guys can agree with that as well. Like, I just don't see any of those names that have been linked that are going to go to the Galaxy. Maybe though, but who knows?
Yeah, Vanny said they've been in discussions with some players, so I wonder how that's going along, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, it's been kind of quiet at the start, but hopefully it picks up for sure for the Galaxy and what those rumors and when they pick up, I guess. So yeah, we'll see what happens in there. But yeah, interesting to see what the Galaxy can do and what the moves they can make. And considering the momentum they have right now, let's see how that helps. But anyways, yeah, those are some rumors, transfer talk that we've had. And I guess we can go into the recap unless I'm missing anything.
You mean the preview?
Or the preview, my bad. We've already talked about recaps. Too many recaps that I thought we were doing another recap. But anyways, yeah, unless there's any other points that I'm missing. But I think we could go into the preview, though.
No, I mean, just two great wins for the Galaxy over the last week. I mean, beating the two conference champions is a very good achievement. And if you can beat those guys, like I said before, you can pretty much take on anyone in the league. So hopefully we keep building forward.
Yeah, definitely for sure. We'll see what they do in this transfer window. But anyways, we'll go into the preview against Vancouver right now. So yeah, our next game is up in Vancouver. We'll see how this one goes. Like we said, the Galaxy are riding on a high momentum. Vancouver, I haven't really been paying attention to them too much. I think they're in a playoff spot. I could be wrong though.
I think they're in like the 9th spot, 3 points ahead of us, I believe.
Yeah, they're in the ninth spot. Okay, yeah. So they're in a playoff spot. I think they're like 3 points ahead of us too. So getting a win against them could actually be pretty big. I won't say that won't put us in a playoff spot, but getting a win against Vancouver is definitely going to help for sure if we can. But I guess we'll start off with Jake here. What do you think the Galaxy? How do you think the Galaxy should approach this Vancouver side? How do you think they'll what they can do to really get those 3 points against Vancouver?
Yeah, I think at home, Vancouver are going to come out on the front foot for sure. They like to press. They like to score a lot of goals at home, obviously. They have a really strong attack. So I would say definitely should just kind of be to try and stay in the game as long as you can because Vancouver, it's a bit of a tough place to play. You got Ryan Gauld. They've got some other decent attacking guys around him, but mostly try to keep Ryan Gauld quiet is the main point and just stay in the game. And definitely if you can get one on the counterattack, even two, then that should be enough to win that game, I would say.
Definitely, for sure. Alex, how do you feel like going into this game? What do you think we should do on this one?
Yeah, so I think this is going to be a very tough game. Vancouver at home is obviously really good. They've had some amazing performances at home this year. They beat Montreal 5-0. They beat Houston 6-2. So at home, they can just explode on any given night. But lately, this team has been letting in a lot of goals. I mean, against Seattle, they lost 3-2 at home the last game. And then the week before that, they lost to Kansas City 3-0. So this team is letting in goals right now. And I think the Galaxy attack has to be very aggressive. Go at this Vancouver defense early, really put them under pressure because, as we've seen lately, this Vancouver side is very shaky in the back. And, I mean, this would be a massive 3 points going into the League's Cup break. I think it's a game we really should try to win to get ourselves in a better position. And I think it's a winnable game. I think Vancouver is a really good team. As we saw last year, we had a long unbeaten streak and then we went to Vancouver. We got destroyed, but it's going to be a very tough game. Vancouver's going to come ready. They're going to want to get these 3 points, get themselves in a better position, but we have to match their intensity and hopefully score some goals and defend well.
Yeah, I mean, definitely for sure. I mean, yeah, Vancouver definitely not an easy place to go play. I always say that I mean, I don't want to say Vancouver doesn't have a great atmosphere, but like I always say, like the downside of the atmospheres, like the teams that don't have like the biggest ones, kind of are the trickiest place to play. I feel like Vancouver is one of those teams, and definitely for sure going to a different country is not easy. But definitely I think I agree that the Galaxy just need to offensively just need to go at it, and I think they've had these past few games. They've been getting. I think in all these past 3 games they've scored first. So at least we know the Galaxy can definitely go in and start, get it going offensively. So hopefully that is the case, and hopefully that they start getting some goals and get these 3 points before the Leagues Cup. So definitely for sure, I think the Galaxy just need to just go at it, go ahead.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but anyways, I think I don't have much to say else about the preview unless anybody have some final points about Vancouver.
No, I mean, hopefully we get 3 points from that game. That would be a massive 3 points before the break and just continue our unbeaten streak.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Jake, any other final points you want to say?
I do want to talk about Vancouver for a second. So they beat LAFC 3-2. I think it was two-ish weeks ago, and I thought they were going to go on a run after that, and then they didn't really show up for that Kansas City game, and then they lost to Seattle, and definitely a heartbreaking game for them. But it's definitely, I think this is a good time for the Galaxy to be facing them because Vancouver has been struggling in the last couple of games, but they're just kind of an unpredictable team. So this is one of the games I'm most looking forward to this weekend.
Yeah, like I said, last year we had like this long unbeaten streak. It was like 6 or 7 games. Then we went to Vancouver in 2022. They destroyed us. So, I mean, hopefully that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, for sure. Again, Vancouver still is one of I mean, like I said, they're in a play-in spot, so at least they're not gonna want to try to go on this whole big slump. So they're gonna try their best to win at home. And like we said, at any given day they can blow out a team at home. So it's like, who knows what's gonna happen there. But hopefully the Galaxy take advantages of Vancouver and we get those 3 points before going into Leagues Cup for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. But anyways, I think that's gonna be it for the episode, actually. So can't thank you guys enough for stopping by. I know it's been a while. Thank you all guys for coming in and listening. And of course, thank you for Jake for being on this episode, man. I mean, thank you for being here. Like we said, this is a while since we had a guest. And so that's going to be it for the episode. Can't thank you guys enough. If you guys want to follow me at Insider Galaxy on Instagram, on Twitter, on Threads, since that's a new thing now. Go follow me there. You can follow Alex at LA Galaxy Central on IG. But anyways, yeah, thank you guys for sure. For everybody tuning in, like I said, thank you. Be a friend, tell a friend about the podcast wherever you're listening to this podcast. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day, rest of your week. And yeah, let's go get those 3 points on Saturday. Thank you guys, and G's up.
7 words.